Welcome to No Low Balls. I Know What I Got, episode 2, day 2. We're on our second episode already, and it's already a two-parter.
It's a long one.
I don't know if that's a sign of success or failure or what, but whatever. We are out at the range today with Allen Engineering. I should just call you Mr. Allen Engineering.
They call me Brian Allen now.
Part of the team.
Yeah.
And Brian, what are we doing here today?
So today we are going to first zero these Recce rifles, and shoot them. We've got two variants: the 416 variant of the Recce rifle and the M4 variant. A lot of history behind it, but I know you know more about it than I do.
Yeah, and when we say that we're shooting these Recce rifles today, as far as we know, these are the first of these configurations pretty much in civilian hands with these cans.
Yeah, these two cans that we made are the very first M4 Recce suppressors we've made. Morgan was able to make them before the production run. So, yeah, this is the first time the true configuration is being shot by, I guess, anyone in civilian hands.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so plan today, we're going to go over the builds. I'm pretty sure everybody watching this already knows what these are, but we'll talk through them a little bit. What's the typical YouTube thing, like front to back or something? I don't know.
Tip to butt?
Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah, we'll figure that out. Then we're going to do a rough zero. We'll take a look at the groups, see what kind of accuracy we're getting out of these. These are prototype cans, but we've checked them. They're all perfectly aligned. We've got Lilja barrel in the M4, 14.5 factory HK barrel in the 416. I think we should see some good accuracy. We've really only got one good match load out here today, which is 77 Black Hills, but that should be fine. We'll see how it does. We'll get a rough zero. We'll check some groups. I think we'll get some velocity data. I think people would find that interesting to see, what these are getting compared to the older configurations.
Yeah.
The lesser correct configurations, let's call them.
Yeah, you're definitely getting a little bit more barrel length off of it, which will help with velocity.
Yeah.
Which makes sense for Recce rifles.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what those numbers are. We'll get that on camera. And then after we get zeroed, we'll get some rough dope. And I think we've got steel, 200, maybe some in the middle. We've got a gong out there at 500. And we'll see if we can't hit something with these.
Yeah. I think the biggest limitation is going to be the old glass, but I think we can make it.
This is Knife Force. You can't be talking about old glass that way.
It's a little old.
Okay. Fair enough.
But it is what they used. So
that's right.
If they can do it, maybe we can do it.
Maybe. Okay. Yeah, I don't know about that, but we'll see. Well, let's start with the M4, because I guess that's where it started. Makes sense. Kind of a cool build. I think most people already know what this is, but we'll cover the parts on it. This one's kind of fun. It's got a lot of surplus stuff in it that came out of Dev's armory at some point. Not sure how that happened. I think normally we'd go front to back, but let's go the opposite direction, since what's happening up front is probably the most interesting part. At back, standard top mod stock. Everybody's familiar with these. This is surplus, which is kind of cool. Standard Colt, lower, upper. Do have a Geisley trigger in this, so if our groups suck, we really have no excuses here. Optic setup. Again, I think most people are pretty familiar with these if you've been following DEVGRU stuff. This is a nav spec Recon from Night Force, 2.5 to 10 by 24. We hear people talk about these all the time that used them, and I don't think I've ever heard a negative word said about them. Primarily a weight and size issue. Everybody can see plain as day how small it is. It's also incredibly light. Just makes for a pretty handy package. The one, I guess, potential downsides you could say about them being old is they are MOA turrets, mil reticle. So whatever, figure out how to work around that. And then the reticle, it's just a standard hollow mil dot. So no tree, nothing fancy there like we have today in the 1 to 8s and whatnot. This is a surplus one with surplus rings, which is kind of fun. Red dot on 12 o'clock. We probably won't be messing with that today. Again, history of these things, episode 1, we talked to Bill about this, how these things started, even just being welded on top of rings. Eventually started seeing first-party solutions from the companies, J-points, doctors were around, see a ton of photos of MRDS at some point. Both the J-point and the MRDS are 90% plastic, so they kind of suck. But whatever, they work. It was around at that time. And you'll see on the 416 we've got a T1 sitting up top, which is obviously a far more capable and durable setup. It's a lot better with passive night vision, being able to set your red dot brightness and all that jazz. But we'll get to that when we get to the other one. Going forward, Knights Armament, free float, RAS rail. I think everybody's familiar with these. Again, another surplus one, kind of fun. Vero Beach marked, M4 match. And then let's get to the heart of what we got going on here. So underneath, it's a Lilja barrel. This particular one is new old stock. It's unfired, so we don't know how it's going to do. But it's a pretty old barrel. It's not a recent production. These are kind of interesting because this all came about long before the mid-length gas system was a thing. So, people look at these builds and they say, what the heck are you doing with a 16-inch barrel with a carbine gas system? And that's just how it was. I also think there's something to be said that, these are military rifles. They're kind of meant to be overgassed. We're certainly prioritizing reliability in a system like this over, flat shooting or an optimized gas port. This isn't tuned. It's going to go bang when we pull the trigger, and that's basically what we care about. Standard stuff that you would see on these rifles, bipod, Harris, pretty typical, LA5 for night vision stuff. Pretty self-explanatory, but, in most of the photos we see the LA5s offset off to the side, obviously, so, we can throw night vision and thermal clip-ons up top. We're not going to do that today, but maybe we'll get some footage of that later on if everybody wants some of that. It's always fun. Basic charging handle in here. Should be a gas buster, but we did not have one in the parts bin at the time. I don't think the CQD is accurate, but this was the lower that I had from some other clone builds, so we're making what we have work today. Hogue grip. And now let's talk about what we're here to talk about. So this system right here will feel pretty familiar to people who know the AEM5, but this is the Recce can. And as you can tell when we take it off, we've got the full 17-inch barrel, I guess Lilja would call it. It's really more of a 16.5, 16.4, somewhere around there. Underneath, instead of the what you're, I think, used to seeing on these builds, which is the chopped, 15.1 with the AEM5 muzzle brake sitting out on the end. So, we got bare threads here, and then this collar here is kind of what makes this whole thing work. What's interesting about this collar that's much different than the AEM5 is that this barrel is not profiled with some shoulder underneath here in any way. I think the way that Brian described it was they're holding on with a set screw and a prayer, which is, it's what people did back then, and clearly it worked. So for the kits that we're collaborating with Allen Engineering on, we're, going to do these accurate to the way they were, and that's how they were. There's a few things that can be done to make this a little bit more, say, durable or set in terms of throwing some red Loctite under there, kind of bedding it in there with that. Potentially even, we've heard that some of the barrels were dimpled where the set screw sits. That would obviously help. Today, we're not going to torque the can down. We're not going to use all of our power to torque it down. We're just going to get it more or less hand tight, keep a close eye on how it's doing. But at some point, we'll get this collar maybe on this barrel a little bit more permanently. Other than that, it's literally just a factory Lilja barrel. You pick up one of these from Lilja's website. This is what you get. And suppressor, not much to say about it that isn't pretty self-explanatory by looking at it. Clearly the barrel sticks in the can quite a bit further because there's no muzzle brake here. I think Brian mentioned it was something around 4 inches, 3.9 inches, something like that it's going into the suppressor. Should be a really nice and good quiet baffle stack in here. We'll see how it sounds. Hopefully that'll show up on video. But yeah, pretty neat. This is really kind of a reveal. The first time that this system has been seen, put together correctly, and the way that it's been used. You know, I don't have the exact dates on me, but man, it had to be at least close to a decade or so before the 416s kind of came around. And even after the 416 assaulters were around, these things still showed up in photos. So, you know, these things got used. Even in episode 1, talked to Bill about it. This was clearly his favorite rifle 14 years in, and this was the one that he loved the most. It's light, it's handy. We'll see how accurate it is. I'd be surprised if it's not. And yeah, we'll go from there. That's the M4. You seeing that?
See what?
It's a clover leaf.
Oh, really?
They're practically in the same hole.
At 100?
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah,
funny.
if you am I giving everybody plumber's crack back here?
No, you're good.
All right, next up, let's talk about the 416 setup, which is pretty cool. Same kind of thing we did with the M4. We'll work our way from the back to the front, cover the barrel and the can the last. 416 setup for DEVGRU is pretty typical factory 416 with most things. I think a couple things to call out on here is we've got an old logo GG&G sling mount here, which you see all the time on their guns. It's kind of cool. This particular lower is a remarked MR556, but you know there's plenty of options for great 416 lowers out there. Shout out to Chris over at International Mil Spec Company. Clearly the best ones. If you ever get a chance to pick that up, that would be the way to go. Then we get to the upper. Back to the lower. We do have Geisley trigger in this one as well. So again, no excuses for our groups here, what we're doing today. This is a Geisley 416 trigger, not the MR556 trigger. So it would be, you know, as accurate as we can be. But let's talk about the upper. Quite a lot easier to throw together. I would say maybe more expensive, but easier to throw together than the M4. This is nothing more than a factory 14.5-inch AI date code 416 upper. They're getting a little harder to find these days, but if you do find one, especially kind of in that date code range, you're getting literally the same thing that they were using. Really, the only main modification we've done to this one is we ground the sling loops off so we could throw a different rail on here. In this example, we've thrown the Remington rail on here, Remington Defense. Pretty cool, very stout rail, but a little bit lighter than the quad rail. Have seen tons of photos of these with the quad rail as well. Also seen the tan version of this rail show up on these guns, which looks pretty sick. And then of course I would say probably one of the more common ones that we saw is the Daniel Defense rail. Pretty clear once those came around, the Daniel Defense rail is so lightweight, they just show up in photos all the time. So it seemed to be a popular choice. And certainly we've got plenty of photos of the 14.5 configuration with that rail as well. So yeah, other than the factory upper, grinding the sling loops off, throwing the Remington rail on here, it's pretty stock Atlas bipod, again LA5 for night vision stuff. Same nav spec recon. This one in particular is not surplus. This one was a contract overrun where back in the day Night Force offered actual nav spec recons. They literally had an overrun of them and offered them on the civilian market. Kind of cool. Came in a totally different box, certificate of authenticity, a bunch of stuff came with it. It's pretty neat. And then we've got the Aimpoint T1 mounted on top with an original Wilcox ring. I think there's some reproductions of these out there now, so they should be easier to find if you're looking for one. Running the Aimpoint on top of the nav spec like this is a pretty great setup. I've shot this plenty with passive aiming through nods. It works fantastic. You know, being able to manually set your dot here. Everybody shot through an Aimpoint. You know what it's like. It's great. Good glass. It's pretty clear. Maybe not as clear as the T2, but with the T1 being quite a bit shorter than the T2 without the extra material back here, it fits quite a bit better. Also would be period correct. Old Night Force rings. Yeah, not much to say. Kind of a very similar optic setup. Same MOA turrets, same hollow mil dot reticle, of course. We'll see how that does out of distance. Got a little bit of wind today, but it shouldn't be too bad. And then let's go up here and talk about this. So like we covered in the video, you know, for the longest time, everybody thought that this was a barrel that had been cut down to something like 13.1, 13.2 inches. One of the more interesting mysteries around this that led us to this discovery is the collar itself. I've seen quite a few photos of these, and the collar is never quite in the same position. We've seen some photos where it's all the way butted up against the gas journal. We've seen some photos where it's sitting 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch away. Even that alone kind of led to some of the investigation on, hey, maybe there isn't a shoulder machined into this barrel, but it's a different setup. It's basically the exact same setup as the M4, where the collar is on the main portion that's behind the 203 cut with a set screw kind of holding it on. I'd say the HK has a little bit of an advantage here in the sense that the gas block journal is here, so your collar can kind of bottom out on that. You may not need to dimple this one. Dimensionally, the collar is different than the M4, so when we do the M4 kits with Allen Engineering, don't expect that you can just swap that collar over to a 416. You will need a 416 specific collar that's kind of mated to your barrel, and we'll have more info forthcoming on how that all works. But yeah, just to kind of prove what we have going on here, this is prototype can number 2. Again, we covered this yesterday, but what's pretty incredible about this is not only is this the exact design, literally the can made exactly the same way that these were made, but it was even made on some of the same tooling that came from Ron. I find that as a history and clone nerd pretty incredible. Even just holding this right now, it's pretty neat. So massive shout out to Allen Engineering for that and making this a reality. And yeah, let's take a look at the barrel. As you can see, very similar collar geometry to what's on the M4. You get a little bit better picture of it, what it looks like here. It's kind of interesting in the sense that it overhangs the 203 cut a little bit. we weren't going for re-engineering the system. What we were going for was historical accuracy. So we, did the collars exactly the way they were. Morgan over at Allen Engineering, the wizard, in the machine shop, cooked this up yesterday while we were filming, did a fantastic job. It'll be really fun to see how it shoots. And then we've got the standard 14.5 inch, mill/LE upper profile, 203 cut, kind of modeled after the SOCOM barrel. I think these were when HK came up with them. But 14.5 inches, and we'll see how it does. There we are. That shot just left 2 holes in the paper.
What?
Yeah, I have no explanation for what I'm seeing down there. Everything okay? We'll go down there and take a look at it, but
It's not loose?
okay. I'm wondering if just the paper is smacking against the water can or something, or a piece of frag.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
You getting,
What's
getting
that?
close?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna pull a little Henry and Josh here. I guess I'll be the lesser Josh, and Josh the lesser. We'll try a 9-hole group on the head at the right target, and yeah, let's see what happens when we're doing them with more than 5 shots. All right, let's go take a look. All right, so this is me getting dialed in with the M4, and then this is our first group. So this was first shot here, and then brought it up into the left. This was 3-shot group here, brought it up again, and then this is a 5-shot group. We've got one down here. These 2 shots were 1 and 2, and then number 3 is where we started to see the dispersion, and then 4 and 5. And I think we're looking right here at the suppressor moving a little bit on that collar.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll take a look at the collar that we've got on the M4. Same thing over here. This was cold bore shot right here, which I felt pretty damn good about. And then this was shot number 2, and we looked at it, and sure enough, having same thing with the collar there. So called it good there for the M4. But we'll head back to the shop and we'll cook up we'll make sure the collar for the M4 is good to go. Moving over to the 416. First couple shots were down here. This is why I didn't see them. So I started aiming over here, saw it here, brought it up about, I think, 8 MOA or so. Got one on here and actually saw 2 hits on paper. This looks like it was just some frag, so this was my actual shot. And then these were my next 2. So I called the 0 good here, brought it left 1. I decided to do these 2 targets because I was seeing this frag in my scope, so I thought there was some stuff already there. This was group number 1, 5-shot group. Maybe nothing to write home about, but it looks about an inch, not too bad. And then this was our 9-hole group right here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it looks like. Maybe 2 here, 1, 1, and then these 2. I didn't really feel any flyers. We do have a little bit of wind, so I think that it is moving left to right. I think this is probably where my 0 is, and these are maybe a little bit of wind, or I pulled them. Either way, that's it's great. Pretty happy with that. I think that's typically what I'd see out of a Mark 12, anything, you know.
Yeah, especially with, I think with this one, we were a little bit tighter.
Yep.
We had the one issue with the collar.
Yep.
And the suppressor slowly walking off.
Yep.
And so I think that's where we start to open up.
Yep.
Which, you know, that was a prototype collar. We'll
Yep.
obviously dial it in
Yep.
for the production run.
Yeah, these 3 right here, when I saw those, I had a pretty big smile on my face.
Yeah, so I think those little just stainless barrels are just dead ringers.
Yeah.
So, and then with those, I don't know what kind of process they do on the 416 barrels, but I think they're more of a
yeah, if I remember correctly, I think they're cold hammer forged. I'm not 100% sure on that. They definitely are chrome lined. Even with that, HK is known for their. I mean, I took a class with a 10-inch assaulter build, red dot, using 55 grain surplus German ammo, and I was getting less than 1 MOA out of my 10-inch gun. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Out of a chrome line 10-inch gun. So I've never had a factory 416 not shoot MOA. I've owned quite a few of them. I've certainly seen 416 builds using, you know, MR barrels or Brownell's barrels not shoot as well. But every single time I see a factory 416 upper, I pretty much know that that's exactly what I'm going to get out of it. Which is funny because, you know, HK, their whole thing with HK USA, the barrels not being chrome lined here in the US is, you know, match rifle. That's kind of what they're going for. The real deal, the German 416, even being chrome lined, personally, I consider a match rifle. And I think, you know, this showcases that. On a different day, maybe a little bit less wind, I think that could tighten up even a little bit more. The guns sure felt great. They were super smooth. Kind of exactly what I expected. The M4 was super nice and smooth, even with the carbine gas system. 416 has, I would say, a little bit more of a faster recoil, but it's still a snap back on target, where I wouldn't describe it as not smooth. I would just describe it as a faster working system.
Yeah.
And certainly I would say that it feels smoother than my 10-inch builds, which is kind of interesting. You would think throwing a classic can on a 14.5 that, you know, you'd be getting like more blowback that would cause a little bit more recoil, but I didn't feel it. It felt great. So pretty fun.
Yeah. Let's see how far we can.
Yeah,
take them out to.
let's I guess we'll do, if I trip over myself here, I guess we'll do we'll stick with the 416 for a little bit.
Yeah, let's stick with the 416 mainly
Okay.
because it's going to be more consistent that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, let's see if we can hit some of that steel out there. Pretty fun.
Sweet. What was that at?
Whatever the furthest, like, little gong. Like
200.
200? Yeah.
And it was a little.
Oh wait,
Huh? Yeah, it was a little guy.
the one on the berm?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 200.
Yeah. I kind of have, like, a connection with this gun, so it's like,
how's
I
it
just
feel?
feel it.
Yeah.
It's alright.
Gotta get.
You missed it though.
He's actually
Is
loading
this
it like a reconnoiter.
Is this a sniper?
It's a
Reconnoitering sniper.
it's
huh?
a reconnoitering sniper.
Mm.
Dude, it is so close.
Which one are you going for?
The 500. Alright, sorry, I'll shoot 2 more of your 77.
I didn't realize that.
Amateur hour.
Yeah.
Dude, I was like an inch off the plate. It's like right there. Can you try a couple of your 55s? Just
That's
for
what I
funsies?
say every time I miss too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't think that's a real Seiko. It's not an Arabic.
This is
Mine's an Arabic.
yours. Is
Eh, I got it for like $50 in some market.
you just choose through batteries.
It burns to a battery in like a week.
Just watching it dance around the plate.
Yeah. What'd you think?
That shoots
It's alright.
top notch, dude.
Is that cam staying on just fine?
Can you tell me what 2 + 2 is real quick?
Yeah, I need to do something actually, though. I forgot.
Oh, your shirt?
If I miss this, I'm calling in Cole Webb favor.
Cole, can I see that Batman?
Yeah, yeah, you can see it
Can I hold
from
it?
over here.
I can't believe you're showing up in a different Rolex on me the next day.
Sorry, it's sweaty. It also might not be set. I haven't worn it in like a week.
Totally.
I've
dude.
been on the
I
sub.
I have them too. I just don't wear them also.
Maybe I'm a steak fry.
Y'all ready for this? Runs really good. Yeah.
Oh, dude. It's right there.
Doesn't even sound like a steel plate. Sounds like a screwdriver hitting a Stanley Cup.
Hey, there's supposed to be ammo in there, man. Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am out.